tonight. So we expect our speaker to come on board by 8:30, inshallah. But before we have him on board, we just want to have a brief about the program that we're going to be having tonight. I'm not a subject matter expert, but I would just like to share a video just to whet our appetite on what artificial intelligence is. So I'm going to be playing a video. It's going to be perhaps just a 7-8 minute video. Let's just take our time to listen or watch that video and hear what artificial intelligence is all about. Perhaps we can pick one or two things that will form some of those questions that we might be having for our speaker tonight. So just give me a moment while I share my screen. Once I play that video, I'll also give us some time to watch a brief video giving us introduction or giving us the profile of who Professor Hafiz Alaka is. So in the next 30 seconds, you will have the video on your screen. Please can anyone please confirm if you can see my screen? I'm currently sharing my screen and I have a video on it. I don't know if you can confirm if you are seeing the screen.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Awesome, good. Thank you very much. So here we go.
I'm hearing something.
Awesome. Wow. Sorry, just to confirm, as you can see the video, can you also hear the audio alongside?
The audio is not audible. It's not audible at all.
Oh, it's not audible.
It's not audible.
Okay, let me just connect to my Bluetooth. Sorry about that.
Bluetooth mode. Bluetooth mode.
Mainly is to improve efficiency and sometimes effectiveness as well.
He is not new to MSS because he's called on the island and is very much familiar with what MSS is all about. But for some of us, this might be the first time that we are coming in contact with Professor Alaka. I'll give him some time to introduce himself fully, his background. He is coming from a very humble background because I know him very well. We grew up together. So he's going to be sharing with you how he started his career and also before he delves into the topic for tonight. And like we are all aware, he's going to be speaking to us on artificial intelligence. Why he's speaking to us on artificial intelligence is because he's a subject matter expert in that area. More importantly, artificial intelligence is one of the areas we are looking at during youth camp activity that we are having on camp now. So his topic for tonight is going to be artificial intelligence, application and opportunities, taking advantage as Muslim students. So I leave the floor to Professor Alaka to please do justice to that topic. If you have questions while he's doing his presentation, I will crave your indulgence to please note down your questions. So at the end of the session, you definitely take time to answer all of those questions or inquiries you might have. So I hand over to you, Professor Alaka. The floor is yours. Go ahead, sir.
If we can all be on mute so that we can run the session smoothly. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khairan. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. First of all, let me take my time to thank my brother. Like he said, it's been a while that we've seen brother Yusuf Shaiba. Jazakumullahu khairan for calling me to give this important talk today. And I want to say Jazakumullahu khairan to the whole Mssn Lagos chapter for inviting me and to all of those in attendance for bringing in their audience to listen to this session. As Brother Yusuf has said, we don't have a lot of time. I didn't think I was going to be introducing my background, like my journey, but I'll try to see if I can do justice to that. First and foremost, I'll try to share my screen. Share. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. My PowerPoint presentation. Brother Yusuf, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, very well. I can see it. So I guess others too can see it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So like I said, I'll be presenting on artificial intelligence applications and opportunities. My name is Hafiz Alaka. I've got a few qualifications. I'll run through the introduction of myself on the slide, and then I'll say a bit more on my background like Brother Yusuf has requested. So I'm currently the Director of Big Data Technologies and Innovation Lab at the University of Hertfordshire. I'm a Professor of Digital Technologies and Innovation with over 18 years industry and higher education teaching and research experience. I've got various qualifications, including a PhD. I'm a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Building, a fellow of Higher Education Academy, and member of Open Data Institute. Now my background. Well, I don't know how to go about this, but let me see. Well, we lived together in Dolphin Estate, myself and Brother Yusuf Shaba. I attended Yaba Tech initially in Nigeria and studied civil engineering before moving abroad. I did a degree in civil and infrastructure engineering. I did an MSc, I did my degree in University of Derby, MSc in University of Leeds, where I did MSc in structural engineering before I moved to my PhD in University of West of England, where I did something on applied information technologies. So apply big data technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all of those things to construction, business, and management. And that's where I started my digital technologies journey. So I hope that's enough background about myself. If anybody wants to ask questions about my background, feel free at the end of the session, hopefully. I have a number of publications. I'm not sure if the audience is the type that really understands that, but I have some publications in journals and conferences. You can check that on Google Scholar. And I work in a lot of real life research, as you've seen in the video that I met that was.
Wait. Sorry.
Yes, Brother Yusuf can just help to mute.
Sorry about that, Prof. Please go ahead. I'll try and do that.
It's normal in this.
Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah, like I said, I've worked on a number of real life projects.
Prof, you might need to unmute your mic. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome. Before I get started with artificial intelligence, I'm just going to try to define data and a bit of data science, because that's where the whole of artificial intelligence is coming from. So data is quantities, characters, or symbols on which operations are performed by a computer. They may be stored, transmitted in the form of electrical signals, and so on and so forth. So anything you can store them on USB, you can store them on diskettes. Anything that has character or quantity that you can see is a data in itself. So it can come in the form of Excel. If you type something on Microsoft Word, it's data. Your textbook, the words in it are data. They might be typed up in the computer and used in one way or the other. Now, all of this data contains some sort of information, which might be useful or not very useful. And data science in itself is just trying to make use of that information in a way that favors businesses or decision making. So if I go to data science is the study of data. It involves developing methods of recording, storing, and analyzing data to effectively extract useful information. So that's the key thing, to effectively extract useful information. However, to do that, you will usually need to record or store it and then analyze it, in order to be able to do that. The goal of data science is to gain insights and knowledge from any type of data to help us make decisions. We want to have an insight to help us make a decision. We want to have knowledge about the data to help us make decisions. So that's why sometimes you hear things like decision sciences. So at the end of the day, the whole reason we want to do that is to make informed decisions rather than just make, guesses. And then if it goes wrong, we then try something else. We want to limit the number of trials. If we didn't have data, we might be making 100 guesses before we get it right. With data, we might be able to do our analysis and have 3 options so that we are limited and we don't have to, waste a lot of time and resources. So these are the key areas in data science. It's usually computer science, IT, maths and statistics, and some sort of business knowledge. Why do we have the 3? Well, computer scientists, obviously, they know about computers, and the best analysis are with computers. One thing we need to note is that even before computers, data analysis was taking place, and people did that manually with pen and paper. Statisticians, they helped businesses to make decisions. All those simple arithmetic that we do, all those simple calculations that we do, the mean, the averages, the standard deviation, all of those things are very important in making organizational decisions. Sometimes an organization can even be a country. So what do we want to decide in a country? When they carry out census and look at the age of the age of the larger percentage of the population and all of those things, is to make informed decisions. If we have very old people, we need to make certain decisions. If we have too many young people, there's need for certain decisions to make sure the economy keeps thriving and we keep the security levels at a very good standard. So there used to be data analysis since then, and it usually was maths and statistics people that did that. But for whatever analysis they wanted to make, they would need somebody that knows the domain knowledge, that has the domain knowledge or business knowledge. What's the meaning of domain knowledge? So if you want to analyze data, what are you analyzing data about? Are you analyzing data about Nigeria? And then you want to say, okay, what's the population of Nigeria? Let's look at the age. What's the mean age? Oh, we have a lot younger people. We have a lot older people. Oh, we have 2 different religions. Someone with domain knowledge will be somebody who understands Nigeria at that point. And that person is then able to come up to say that, yes, you found 2 major religions. It's mainly Muslims and Christians. Say, oh, the Muslims seems to be concentrated in one part. Muslims and Christians are mixed in another part. The person with domain knowledge is then able to tell you, oh, Muslims are mostly northerners. If it's mixed, it's probably southwest. If it's mainly Christians, it's probably south, and southeast. So there's always need for domain knowledge. If you don't have domain knowledge, you can do the analysis, but not understand the results. But since computers started growing in strength and advancement, computers have been able to do what mathematicians and statisticians can do with computers. Computers can now do that, and computer scientists can do that with computers. These days, mathematicians and scientists and statisticians are also very good at this computing coding as well, that can help them with data analysis. And things are quite advanced these days. You'll be amazed if you understand how things work. Not to spend too much time on that, I'll move on to the next slide. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. So essentially, what we are saying is, instead of a human being to need to go there and look at things and make a decision, we want to be able to give certain things to a computer to make a decision. That's what artificial intelligence is. So when you look at the 2 words, the combination of words, artificial intelligence, essentially what it's saying is human beings are intelligent and use their brains. Computers are not intelligent, right? But they can be programmed to have some sort of artificial intelligence. The intelligence is fake. It's not real, But if they are well programmed, they can go through a certain number of steps to give similar decisions to what the human can, to the decisions humans will normally make. However, they are not overall intelligence. Like a human being can come up home, make a decision, go out, make a decision, get on the bus, make a decision. For computers, in each case, you have to program something separately. And that's why it's artificial intelligence. So it is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. Those intelligent computer programs are what we call artificial intelligence. So It is related to the similar task of using computers to understand human intelligence. In a broad sense, this is what artificial intelligence is, sometimes called machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, but I won't go into that because of time and because of the technicalities that might be involved. So in general, AI, which is artificial intelligence, AI systems work by ingesting large amounts of labeled training data, analyzing that data for correlations and patterns, and using these patterns to make prediction about future states. And we will see examples as we go on, and I'll try to explain a bit. As much as possible, I'm trying to make this a top-level explanation so that I don't go to the rudiments, because the rudiments are quite technical, and from my understanding of the demography of the audience, I don't think that's the best. However, where it is possible, I'll talk you through those rudiments slightly for those who may be able to understand what we are trying to say. So it is important to understand that for you to do artificial intelligence, you need data. That's why I brought this particular definition in. This is the overall heading definition. It's just a case of programs that want to mimic problem-solving decision that human beings can do. So you can make a decision. We want a computer to make that decision, right? We want the computer to be able to say, this is the best student, this is the worst student, this is the average. What do we need to do next? It says it, have tutorials Monday to Friday, do this, do that. A human being makes those decisions normally, right? But we want computers to be able to make that. However, more rudimentally, it's a case of the computer taking data, training itself. We call it something training. It trains itself with that data. After we click a few things and write a few codes, it finds correlation and pattern. What are correlations? If this is going up, is this going down? If that is going down, is this going up? Are they going up together? Are they going down together? It's finding correlations between things, right? And looking at the patterns. What happened yesterday? What happened today? Looks at correlation. Oh, every time there's rain, the fruits grow. However, if sun comes out immediately, cats tend to eat the crops. It's going to find those correlations. But you need to put all of those data in. You need to be able to say, there's rain at this time, there is sun at this time, crops were eaten at this time, crops grew at this time, that. And instead of someone to sit down and start looking at all of that and say, oh, look, sun comes out after the rain, and then the cats eat the crops. So the best bet is that whenever there is rain, we should be prepared that in case the sun is going to come up, we should be on the farm to stop the cats from eating that. Instead of you to sit down and analyze all of those data and make that decision, we want to be able to give all of those data to the computer, and then the computer then says, oh, this is what happens, then you need to take an action. It might not tell you you have to be on the farm, but it will tell you, look, from this data, it shows that every time sun comes out after the rain, the cats will come and eat the crops. Then human being can then make that final step of the decision. So that process whereby we give all of that data to the computer, and the computer does its analysis and finds the correlation and the patterns, that is artificial intelligence working. That is artificial intelligence working. However, it's not as simple as take data, go away. It involves human being doing a lot of coding and then coming up with something and said, okay, I have now developed the artificial intelligence for this particular problem. So every artificial intelligence system is developed for a particular problem. That's why it's artificial. It's not like a human being, like I said before, that can make decisions at any point in time as it goes about its everyday activities. So I'm going to look at a few applications, and some of them I think you are quite familiar with. And then I will then talk you through a few applications in my own lab, and then look at a few opportunities, and hopefully we can get onto the question session as soon as we can. So one of the things that artificial intelligence is good at this point is what we call speech recognition or automatic speech recognition. Okay, so it also has the ability to do speech to text. So this particular artificial intelligence aspect, so there's something called algorithms. Again, I don't want to be too technical. And there are different areas as well in artificial intelligence. So one area is natural language processing. And this natural language processing area under artificial intelligence is the part that deals with speech. So anything that has to do with speech to text, text recognition, speech recognition, and all of those things, they are under NLP, natural language processing. So the simple example here, mobile devices. So a lot of us are using Apple phones or Apple computers. So Apple phones, iPhones, and you have that Siri, right? But even Microsoft has Microsoft Assistant. Google has Google Assistant. Quite a few people will also know of Alexa, Amazon Alexa, or Google Assistant, where you have a smart speaker at home. And then when you say, hey, Google, or hey, Alexa, it comes up and says, how may I help you? That is artificial intelligence, right? It's been run and programmed that every time a Google sounds, obviously, you think it's listening to you, but exactly, it is listening to you, but what it has is a microphone. So when you turn it on, there is a microphone, and that microphone passes the data to the artificial intelligence system. The artificial intelligence system has been programmed during its development that anytime it hears, hey, Google, right? Anytime it hears, okay, Google, it comes up immediately. It responds with something that has been programmed in it through the artificial intelligence. And when you then ask it questions, it doesn't really understand your questions. What it does is it understands a few words. Now, in some cases for Google, what it does is it uses the Google search on the background. When you give it something, when you ask it a question, the artificial intelligence it uses the speech to text recognition to type that out and search it in Google and give you the first set of results. 1, 2, 3. If you say, hey, Google, where's the nearest ShopRite? It load and then come back. The nearest ShopRite is at blah, 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 gives you that address. The second nearest ShopRite is at, so it's been programmed to say first this, and then it reads the first result that comes up in that search. So that's one example of speech recognition, but we will find more examples in even other examples that I try to give as we go along. So another application area is customer service. So quite a few websites now, for those that go online very well, if you go to a website, something pops up on the right, usually on the right, down area. And then it says, can I help you? That's a chatbot. So what that is doing is, when you type in a question in it, they've put in certain things inside it. And then if any of the words in your question matches those things that have been saved inside it, then it will bring these answers that are normally given when such question is asked. That's why sometimes you put your question in and you are quite amazed it gives you the right answer. And sometimes you put your question in and you just wonder, what's this nonsense? Because it has matched it to something and that may not be what you want. But you will see that if it realizes you're not happy, it will always give you the option that maybe you should call an agent, because it knows that it is fixed. The intelligence is not as human, it is artificial. It is fixed to those things that it has been programmed with. And so if you are missing all of those things, it begins to tell you, let me call an agent. Now, what are they doing with these things? They are trying to reduce the running cost for the companies. So instead of having many agents, when you have, you need to call MTN, there's an MTN customer service member that is answering you on the other side. You have to queue. There's always a long queue and people are complaining, oh, I need this and I'm calling MTN, I've been on the phone for 1 hour. And MTN is having to continually invest and getting more people creating service centers. With that chatbot, the chatbot can chat with millions of people at a time, depending on how the development is developed, how the system is developed on the back end. So that's going to help them to cut costs. For all the people that the chatbot is able to solve their challenges, then they don't need to get to the customer agents. Only those that the chatbot cannot help will eventually get to the customer agent, and that helps to save the business a lot of money. That's what it does. So other IT platforms, they have this sort of chat box style stuff, but all these chat box things, they actually depend on some level of speech recognition if it's the one that you're talking to. It's been a while that I've been in Nigeria, but it might be possible that if you call a customer service of a particular company, you'd realize that a computer talks to you first. It will say, if you want to do this, press 1. If you want to do this, press 2. You press 1 and it will say, okay, is the problem with reloading your card? Press 1 if it's reloading your card. Press 2 if it's about a card that has chipped away. You press 1 and it says, okay, if you have not loaded the card before, do this and do that. And if you follow those steps, one after the other, it might be able to resolve the challenge without passing you to a customer assistant. But if it doesn't do it successfully, then it will give you the option to take you across to a customer care assistant. Again, they use speech to text, speech recognition there. And what you will find about speech recognition in most cases is, for you to know the intelligence is quite artificial, if it is trained with a particular accent. So if it is trained with British accent, you'll be quite amazed it won't really understand you if you don't have that British accent. So sometimes we struggled with that when we just got here. So if you call your electricity provider, if you want them to to help you quite quickly, they would ask you for your account number. You would have an account number, not a bank account now. Your electricity provider as a customer, NEPA, you would have NEPA and you would have an account number for your house, that sort of thing. And so when you call NEPA because of a problem, what you would find out is for NEPA to help you quite quickly, they'll ask you for your NEPA account number. And if you can give them that account number, it's quite quick how they can help you. But instead of passing you to a customer agent, it is the computer that takes that account number. And if you start saying the digits 432, it will just start saying 341. Did I hear you right? You said no, and then you struggle. That's because it is artificial. If it is human, if you don't hear it right, then you have that conversation like 2. Did you say 2? 1, 2. Did you say 1, 2, 2? Until you find that out. The computer cannot do that. It is fixed. It is artificial in its intelligence, but it has something it can do. It can do a lot at a time that human beings cannot do. Like I said, the chat box, when it is programmed, can be chatting with millions of customers at a time, depending on the back end. No one customer agent can talk, customer care agent or customer service agent can talk to even 3 people at a time. So that is the difference. It is limited in its capability in terms of wide applicability. However, it is very, very efficient in terms of doing multiple tasks at a time. Another example is what we call computer vision. And this particular artificial intelligence technology enables computers and systems to derive meaningful information from digital images, videos, and other visual outputs based on the input that you give to it. The input is always data, based on the data that you give to it. So it helps it to then differentiate the images. So I think from the video you were watching, I was giving you an example of a project in our lab. And what did we do in that particular project is we automated what we call sewer survey. A sewer. What's a sewer? A sewer is an underground gutter. So when you see your gutter that is covered, instead of having that, in most of these advanced countries, what they have is that goes underground in a pipe. So you don't see it. So you do your washing and everything, water flows in and it goes underground in a pipe. Sometimes the pipe can be as big as a tunnel, as in the example of the video that you saw. So it will be dug in and a human can go through it. It will be that massive, right? And they have to inspect that time after time to make sure blockages are not happening or the sewer collapses. If it collapses, it's a disaster, right? It takes a lot of time to do this. they have to air it because it's all sealed and down there. And because what goes into it is foul water. So you wash your dishes, you flush your toilet, and all of that goes there. What happens is there's a buildup of gas, dangerous gas that human beings cannot take in. So for them to go in there, they have to open, some what we call inspection chambers and manholes at different points and air it for that to come out. During that period, they have to stop the flow of the foul, water coming from different houses or pass it through another route. All of this cost a lot of money, right? And then after airing it, they have to send people down there. It costs a lot of money. It's hazardous and all of that, okay? Rather than people having to do all of these things, they go in there, they look at it, they put it on paper, they come out, they analyze it. It takes over a month. What can we do? If we get a drone to go in, okay, it doesn't have any problem with the smell. It takes the video. We can then take these videos and train an artificial intelligence model that, look, when you see something like this, it is called this defect. When you see something coming in, it's called stalactite defect. When you see chipping, it's called encrustation defect. We train it. You tell it at some point, you put the data, and that's the the labor part of the work. You label it. This is that, that is that. And you tell the system. And by the time you do all of that, you train your model, you check how accurate it is. When you finish, then you take another video where you've already labeled all the, you already know where all the defects is, but it's not labeled. You give it to the AI system. Show me the defects. But you already know where the defects are because some people have done it manually. It shows you, and then you use that to check. Say, okay, we know the results. This is what the AI has brought. Is it good? And based on that, you use that to look at the accuracy. And you train it until it is good. And when it is good and you have the accuracy, good to go. Then you can say, okay, take a drone through, give it to our artificial intelligence. Instead of you to inspect that sewer in 1-2 months, we'll do it for you in a day. It should normally cost you around £500,000. We charge you just £40,000. And that's it. They are jumping all over it once they know that. So it's the same thing when you see the driverless cars. Well, you must have been hearing about driverless cars. They've not gotten to where they need to get to because there's something called probability and impact in risk. So what's the probability of a risk happening? What is the impact of that risk? Some probabilities are high, but the impacts are low. Some probabilities are low, but the impacts are high. So a driverless car has been well trained. When you see the camera on top of it, that camera is using AI technology and can, identify almost everything it sees. So as you can see in this particular image, that thing has identified pedestrian, traffic light, cyclist, and all of those things, right? And so it barely ever hits anything. It goes well, it avoids obstacle. However, once in a blue moon, it doesn't identify the right thing. And then it hits a human being. Now, if it hits one human being, even though the probability of it hitting a human being is very low because he understands all of these things. But once in a blue moon, when it does, the impact of hitting one human being, the impact of losing just one life is too massive. Nobody will accept that driverless car should operate if it still makes mistakes and kill people. Because if it kills a family member of us, for example, God forbid, may Allah not let that happen to us, we'll go like, what nonsense is this? How can you say there should be no driver and then it is, don't tell us nonsense. So that's why that's what is holding it back now, that impact. So if we do the sewer survey, if we miss a small defect, that will be fine. If we miss a large defect and the sewer collapses, that will be massive trouble. That can lead to jail, and all of that. May Allah not let that be our portion. So we also have what we call recommendation engine, where you use past consumption behavior data, to discover trends that can be used to develop more effective selling strategies. The example I love most in this case is Netflix. So Netflix created a competition because they were struggling with their AI systems internally. But it's the AI system that matters. Let me forget about the competition for now. What are they trying to do? Netflix will look at the movies you're watching. So you have an account and you've been watching certain movies, right? The AI system will look at the director of the movie, the genre of the movie, if it's action, if it's thriller, the actors. If it's a male actor that is the starring actor, if it's a female actor that is the key actor, the location, the background music, and all sorts of things. And then the more movies you watch, it will look at all of those things and start saying, okay, these are the trends in what this person watches. So if you watch your first movie, it can't really recommend very well, because it's just probably going to give you another action movie if you watch, if you sort of watch an action movie. But as you watch more and more, you might just realize that, oh, this man likes Nicolas Cage. Oh, this man likes Islamic movies. It will find out from the trend of what you are watching, especially if it's one person or more than one person and they love the same thing. If it's more than one person, if you have different accounts, it will still work well. But if it's different people, it makes it a bit difficult because it will be judging different people. It looks at all of that and it sort of, suggests movies to you. That's exactly what is done in the recommendation engines. It will begin to suggest movies to you, and you would find out that it's, bringing in some movies that you actually like, if truly you've been watching those movies. I'll give you another example. If you don't have an ad block and you're using the internet, if you keep using it, after a while, you find out that they'll be advertising certain things to you, and some of those things will be of interest. It's because of an analysis of your past behavior, what it is called past consumption data. How are you consuming Google? How are you consuming your email? What does it normally buy? What does it normally search? Trainers all the time. Adidas, this guy likes sportswear or sports brands. You'll be bringing Adidas, Nike, Puma, and all of those things to you. So again, that is another part of artificial intelligence. And it goes a long way in making money. So if Google can find that out, Google will then recommend to you. If you then say, oh, I like that, and you click it, that person pays Google. Like, oh, you got someone to buy my product, here is your pay that we agreed. Then Google is able to pay its own employees and so on and so forth. I'm just trying to be conscious of time. Other general examples, are like Uber. So Uber can predict when people are likely to need rides, or where they're likely to be more customers, and direct its drivers to those areas. Google also used that, like I explained earlier, artificial intelligence. Now, before I go to the examples in my lab, do you have to study computer science to be able to do artificial intelligence? Absolute no. Absolute no. So I spoke about my background. I didn't do anything in computer science. Because the world is moving towards artificial intelligence, because virtually everything that is being done in any medium to high organization level or medium to large organization level, and of course some small and micro businesses, there is no medium to large organization in the developed world now that will say it doesn't have anything to do with data analysis. So that's the job that virtually every company has a role for at this moment. So you can say it's hot cake. And it is only just starting, because the data analysis area, data science area, only started standing alone from about 10 years ago. It didn't used to stand alone. There used to be mathematics, there used to be statistics, computer science, all of those things still exist. But like I showed you earlier, all of them come together to sort of create this. So no, you don't. You have time on your hand. You have the ASU strike, some of you now, but even if you don't have the ASU strike, during your holidays, during your free time, you buy a lot of data, you scroll Facebook endlessly, you scroll Twitter endlessly, you can actually build your own future. And you know what is funny is when you understand artificial intelligence enough, sometimes you will realize problems that you can use it to solve on your own, or that you can use it to create a solution that people will want. So because of that, in terms of opportunities, I implore you to explore these two areas or these two providers. These are online course providers. There are others, and if you know any other one, there's no problem at all using them. I do not have, special preference for these ones that I am sort of proposing, but these are the ones that I know that offer a lot. Now, nobody's an island of knowledge. I'm not saying there are no other ones that may be offering more than these, but in case you didn't know any and you wanted to get started from somewhere, here's a good place to start. So if you search EDX or Coursera, now they offer a lot of courses. A lot of them are paid, but a lot of them are also free. What you will find out is that when you choose a course in EDX, for example, it will usually give you what is called an audit mode. Now, in the Western world here, when you want to audit a module, it means you won't be taking the exams. That's what it means. I just want to go to the lectures and listen. Because this is beyond just having exams, it's about you getting knowledge. You can take the audit and they'll put free in the audit, or register and put the cost of the registration. So you need your own motivation if you're not doing an exam, obviously. If you're not motivated, if you're not doing an exam, you're unlikely to learn it well. So you need to find that motivation, start learning something. Go there, you would find many courses. Just put data analysis in the search box. Likewise, if you go to Coursera, just put data analysis in the search box. The example I've put here is called the Analytics Edge. That's where I started. However, I knew the problem I wanted to solve, and that goes a very long way. So you don't have to start at Analytics Edge. Okay, I had a problem, the mathematical problem I wanted to solve with artificial intelligence. I had a reasonable understanding of that. So you have that data. These things are available on Google Play and App Store. Go there, go download the app. The app is free to download. Search the courses, run the courses. May Allah make it easy for us all. There are a few other things you need to understand before you can start getting to run the courses. There are platforms which are essentially programming languages that you have to use, right? So these programming languages, at the moment, these are the two most common ones, Python programming and R programming. I would recommend Python. Why? Very simple. Python is powerful more than R because not within the artificial intelligence. R is also very powerful, but Python does more. It has other programming, capabilities. And because of that, most jobs that advertise data science roles, machine learning engineer roles, and so on and so forth, actually ask people for Python more than R. So based on that, if you want to start learning something, it might be Python that is better. However, it doesn't mean you cannot use R. I started with R, and the course that I gave the example of is based on R. So, but if you wanted to do anything, that means you have to start with Python. So you want, beginners course on Python, the ones that use video. You can download something and then follow the video and do basic calculations, and you pick up from there. The other part is that Python is a programming language. However, to implement Python, there's something we call IDE, Integrated Development Environment, to make it easy to use Python. There are tens of them, right? However, I've picked a few that are popular here. And the one that I recommend most is Jupyter Notebook. That's the one that most people will go with from the start. Probably the easiest. I probably prefer VS Code personally, but that would give a lot of trouble to a beginner. You can also download Anaconda. The good thing about Anaconda is that it has most of these inside. So you can see Jupyter Lab here. This is Jupyter Lab. If I expand this, you will see, I think it's a cropping thing. Is there cropping there? Let me not just hold, because of time, I would leave that for now. But what it does is Anaconda provides you the platform to use any of these. Jupyter Notebook, PyCharm, VS Code. Essentially, they can all use Python. So if you understand the programming language of Python, you can go and run that programming language in any of these IDEs. So if you wanted to ever learn, you can say Jupyter Notebook Python, beginner. That's where you might want to start before you eventually move into artificial intelligence itself. If you cannot use Python or R and any of this IDE, you cannot get started with those things. There are artificial intelligence on other simpler platforms, but they are not the best. And I won't just go through that because of time. So yeah, I think we're doing well for time. We have about 13 minutes. I've explained a project in my lab, so I won't bore you with more. If anyone wants to ask questions about more, then I'll give more examples. I'm quite happy to give more examples, but I'm just quite conscious of time. We have about 13 minutes left, and I've seen about 6 chats in the chat box. Some of them might be questions. General opportunities, look, just learn it. It gives you a professional edge in 2 ways. If you can and you have the ability, it contains maths and coding. Some people might not like this. If you don't, well, we all won't be programmers. We all won't eat from data science. May Allah help us all and guide us to the best of this life and the hereafter. But if you can, you should. It's a double-edged sword. So if you are a doctor and you understand this, then you can find job in 2 areas, or whatever other profession you are, civil engineer like me, lawyer, you have that chance to have, to get other jobs. If you search data scientist job, I don't know about Nigeria, but anywhere in the Western world, the list is endless and you will find a job. So long as you understand it to a reasonable level, you don't need to be super in any way at all. People are asking for data scientists, machine learning engineer, whatever, every single day in a massive number. So you will get something. That's 1. 2, even if you were going for your own, your own profession, there's tendency that it gives you an edge over others. If you went to an interview and said, you answered all the professional questions very well, and then said you still understood data science and could help with data analytics, that can give you an edge. With that, I stop here and I take questions, inshallah.
Awesome. Prof, that was indeed a very awesome presentation. I would want to say Jazakumullah khairan. Professor Alaka is a very busy person. Before I could tie him down, it really took a long while, but for the sake of relationship, brotherhood, was ready to give everything all for us. This time that we have gotten from him is indeed very precious. And from his contributions or from his presentation, I think we've been able to learn a lot about data analysis, artificial intelligence. I must confess, Prof, this is the first time I'm having a kind of session that dissected everything artificial intelligence. And I think I have a very good insight into what that area is all about. In order not to waste much time, for me, what I've learned or what I've taken from that is just learn it. I took that to your word, just learn it. It's really important for each and every one of us. So on this note, I would like to welcome the Amir of Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, Lagos State Area Unit, in person of Malam Nuruddin Yusuf. Is going to be giving us just a small remark based on what Prof has shared with us this evening, and perhaps that would also open floor for other contributions in terms of question. So Amir Nuruddin, sir, you're welcome on board, sir. Amir Nuruddin, sir. Is the Amir Nuruddin there? Okay, while we're waiting for the Amir to come on board, if we have any question, Prof, I'd like to ask, we got some question, some feedback. My participants are asking if they can get a copy of your presentation for them to just run through at their leisure. Is this something that is going to be possible for them to have? Please, inshallah, you can speak to that, sir.
I'll send that to you, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much. So Amir Nuruddin, are you there now? Are you available, sir? Okay, I have a brother who has a question. Please unmute yourself and go ahead with the question, sir, while we wait for the Amir to come on board. The brother with the
he should raise his hand up and we can ask him to unmute himself.
He has dropped a message in the chat box. I'm cool.
You can omit it.
Please go ahead and ask your question. Okay, his audio is not activated, so it might be difficult for him to ask the question. Please drop your message in the okay. Amir Alashe, please go ahead, sir. You have a question.
Sir.
Go ahead, sir. Wa alaikum salam, sir. Go ahead.
Wa alaikum salam
wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallah khair for this beautiful presentation, sir. I want to ask you some questions. I mean, because I'm into Python and probably database as well. Okay. But my problem is that there are so many things to learn. I've been seeing artificial intelligence. I wanted to go into it, but I believe that I still need to learn, deep more into Pythons, then a lot of things on database. So I don't know. From your own angle, it is good for you to just go to AIT and abandon Python, or what are you advising, sir?
Okay, so that is very correct, and thank you very much for bringing that up. When you start this journey, you would realize that there are, almost an unending number of courses that you can take, that you can use to improve yourself. So if you are learning Python, it's good to learn Python. You can't do artificial intelligence without learning one of those environments, whether it's Python or R. Once you are reasonably okay with Python, you don't have to be a super user. Like I said, Python can do so many things. Python can create normal software that we use. There are so many things that you can do with Python. So you don't want to be that super user on Python. Once you understand basic Python, go for artificial intelligence. You don't have to be an expert with databases as well. Data can reside there. Data you want to use might reside on your local computer, and it might reside on a database somewhere else. It could reside in cloud, Amazon Web Service, Microsoft Azure, or the likes. The thing is, get yourself understanding artificial intelligence. One thing about this is, just like when you go to university, you would realize that a lot of things you learn in your area are more like you touched them. When you go to industry, you then realize that a company you're working with puts you in a specific area, and that's the area then you become an expert in. That's the way it has to work. Learn artificial intelligence, and then when you get a job, the job will not usually tell you to do every single part of it. When you then get the demands of the job, you then need to develop yourself in that particular area. And what you tend to realize is as you go on, you then become an expert in that specific area. So that's what I say to that. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Nah, very well. Amir Alashe, you're muted. Hope that clears it. Hope that response clears it. You're muted, sir.
I think he's on.
Are you fine?
Yeah.
Okay. I've asked him to unmute, but perhaps he's not doing that.
Yeah. Assalamu
alaikum.
Exactly. I appreciate the answer, sir. Okay. And other question I want to ask is that, I mean, during this journey, because I discovered that during these journeys, you need somebody to look up to. To ask, which areas you decide to go to. I don't know if you can provide us your number for contact or advice or thereabouts.
Okay, so it depends on what you're talking about in terms of where to go to. In terms of number, I would say that's a bit of a private area. I might be able to provide you with an unofficial email through our brother Yusuf, through which you can send me an email, and when I'm less busy, I can look at that and then respond. So in terms of advice, if it's a coding advice, I'm probably not the best person. As you can see, I'm the director of a lab, and I employ coders. I employ researchers into my lab. I admit PhD students who run things for me. I don't code a lot anymore. Those days are slightly behind me. I still do learn things. till today, I still go on trainings because, like you said, there's so many things we need to know.
Exactly.
It's very important for me to know a bit of this and that, because when I get researchers to work with me, they are working in different areas and I want to be able to understand what they are doing for me. So if that is one of the questions I'm able to help in one way or the other. If it's coding advice, I might be able to direct to some of my researchers to help you.
Amir, sir, you're muted, so you can please go ahead, sir. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, sir.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I will really thank Almighty Allah for this session. I want to thank our lecturer, Professor Hafiz Alaka, for this opportunity that he gave to us to address our students. We are holding a camp now. We call it Digital Skill Training Boot Camp, and we have over almost 100 students here, training them on Python, data science, web development, graphic design, and web development, graphic design, and other things that we train the students here. And we really appreciate you for coming to educate our students here at the camp. We have started since last Friday, and we are ending tomorrow, inshallah. So we just thank Allah for the support and the help. We just want to also seek that if you can serve as mentors, some of our students that want to go into this digital skills development, that you can provide mentorship for them. We really appreciate it, as Mssn said, because one of our core goals is to develop digital skills for our students and to make them to take career development in ICT as we have it today. So we really appreciate you, sir. We pray Almighty Allah to continue to bless you and to make your difference on the path of Deen in Islam. So we all surrender to us because we have training every 3 months. We are going to have another December, inshallah, and we really appreciate your support, whatever form.
Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Thank Allah. We all thank Allah, and I appreciate it. And thank you very much all again for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to contribute to this. Inshallah, anything that is required can always come through my brother Yusuf Shaba. But as he said, it's time is gold. Time is gold over here. I cannot promise mentorship to a large number of people. The easiest way for me to do anything in terms of contribution is this sort of thing, whereby we pick a date and time. Even if that's to do with mentorship, if we want to pick a date and time, even if it's 1 hour, 2 hours, and then I come in and then we talk and we do different things. Mentorship on anything at all, even if it has to do with PhDs, traveling abroad to do their education and all of that, but it has to be a sort of specific time. It would be difficult for me to take on board a large number of people. I do have a large number of junior staff, lecturers, senior lecturers that I'm mentoring as part of my job, compulsorily. And I have my researchers that I'm also mentoring compulsorily. I have other aspects of my job as well. So inshallah, yes, I can mentor, but it has to be sort of in that format that I've mentioned. May Allah make it easy for us all, inshallah.
Ameen. Thank you so much, Prof. I would like to crave your indulgence to give us about 10 more to 15 minutes more. Please hold on. Please, I'm cool. I would like to hand over to the co-host of this session, Sister Akimbo Mutiat. She'll be anchoring the question and answer session. So she'll be able to help us collate the questions. Just give us about 10-15 minutes of your time so that we can address some of the other questions we have in the chat box, and as well as some of our brothers and sisters that have also indicated their interest to ask some questions. Thank you so much, Prof. So Sister Mutiat, please, you can go ahead.
Yes, Jazakumullah khairan, sir. Some of the students, they have some questions here with me.
The first question they are asking is, what are the key areas in data science? Is that right? What are the key? Should I list out all the questions, or I should just?
Let me. Yeah, and my brain is not that big. It's quite a small.
Can you hear me do this thing? I don't understand how you want to do it.
I'll take
Can you hear me do this thing? Like, can you hang? I don't know.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, so I'll take the questions and answer them one after the other. If I take a lot of them, I probably won't remember them.
Has it stopped? Yes, it's too slow, kind of like that. I'm with you, sir.
Yes, I said I'll take the question and answer them one after the other.
All right, sir. The first question is, what are the key areas in data science?
So that's a bit of an ambiguous question. I don't know how to answer it. Probably if the person explains better, but data science is data science. I'm not very sure of the question. Can the person sort of expatiate on it? What do you mean by key areas in data science? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
So I'm sort of asking here, what the person asking the question, can the person be clearer?
Let me do it, sorry.
Can we go to question 2 while the person sort of clarifies what the person means and what are the
what the person actually meant? Can I give it to the student to ask the question by themselves, sir?
Please.
Who is the first person? I don't understand this question. Who sent this question? This question, what are the key areas in data science? Come ask the question by yourself, and you explain better to him. He doesn't understand what you're saying. Are you ready or what? Ask the question. Ask the question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
The key areas in data science.
Yes, what do you mean by the key areas in data science? Well, there are many areas. Yeah. The one that is what?
That was in your slide.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes.
I'll send the slide over. Artificial intelligence is the best-selling area of data science at the moment. Of course, there are many other areas that you can, that exist in data science. You can analyze data in so many different ways. There's database, there's MLOps, there's machine learning, deployment and all of those things. But basically at this point is the basic machine learning development that is one of the key areas. But again, I'm answering that question based on my understanding of the question. If that's not what you're expecting to hear, if you sort of let me know, which area do you getting those jobs? Which area do you think is most difficult? Which area do you advise us to learn? The key areas can be based on so many different factors. So if you break that down further, I may give you a different answer. But to my best of understanding, I would say artificial intelligence is the key area that you should go for at the moment.
Yes, sir. Second question, sir.
Yes.
The sister is asking you. She said, are there openings or recruitment for prospective master students in your lab? What are the requirements for someone who wants to pursue a master in AI?
Okay, so we don't recruit masters in my lab. We recruit PhDs and postdocs. So for me to recruit you in my lab, you are most likely to have an MSc. It is not very common for me to recruit someone who doesn't have an MSc. It's possible, I've never done it. And it's unlikely that I'll do it because the roles are demanding. It's not the professor that you see in this presentation that you are likely to see if you come to my lab. because there's pressure and everybody is working hard, you know. So if you don't have an MSc, if we employ you, you'll be a super AI person or super in the area you are dealing with, which means what is most likely is that you might have a degree, but you might have a massive amount of industry experience, you know. And then if we have a role, so in my lab, the roles we advertise are based on when we win projects. We bid for projects, and when we win projects, we might have an 18-month project, a 1-year project, a 2-year project. We then advertise for someone to come and play a role on that particular project. So it's going to be a contract. So if you were a super, you know, if you are very good with artificial intelligence, for example, and you know, we run an interview, we advertise, and we say anybody that is good, and we don't put an MSc. So if you look at the job advert, there's always a job advert. I can always share my job adverts with Brother Yusuf Shaba with zero attachments that I will pick someone that comes from MSSN or elsewhere. So there's a robust mechanism that we have to follow through our employment. You know, it may be possible that if you are here and then you become one of the best candidates, and we can't choose between two people that are very good, and you're one of those two, then we might lean towards you, you know. But if we have someone that is very good and you fall short, it won't happen. We have robust mechanisms to checkmate all of those things. So if you look at a job advert, if I have a job advert, I'll share it. If you look at that and you think you have, we always call some things essential and we call some things desirable. So if you don't have the essential, the human resource department will not even allow us to employ you. It's compulsory that anybody that we want to take meets the essential. So usually, if the person doesn't have an MSc, we will be asking for maybe a minimum 3 years experience or 4 years experience in artificial intelligence, machine learning, you know, or whatever other area we want to employ the person in. Sometimes we're looking for domain knowledge. So we might be applying artificial intelligence to a certain area, agriculture sometimes. And then we're looking for someone with agricultural knowledge, but has slight understanding of machine learning. So we won't need the person that is very good in machine learning, but he or she has an understanding of machine learning, but has the full domain knowledge of agriculture, because it's that domain knowledge that we need at that point in time, and we don't have that in-house. Whatever the case is, it's uncommon for us to take someone who doesn't have an MSc. So the requirement for a job is job specific. I don't have the requirements in my head. If we want to advertise a particular role, we will give the requirements for that particular role, and you can check those requirements. And if you meet them, you're absolutely welcome to apply. I hope that answers your question. And like
Yes,
I said,
Jazakallah khairan, sir.
I mean, Jazakallah khairan. Inshallah, try to keep in mind, if we have an opening, we will share with Brother Yusuf about to share with
All right, sir. Here's another question, sir. Okay. This person is asking, if someone is interested in artificial intelligence, where do you start from, as there are no universities studying it here in Nigeria?
So like I said, you can, if you have the data, you can start from where I've suggested. Go and start with basic Python. So choose an IDE, which I spoke about, Jupyter Notebook. So when you say Python, there are many ways you can use Python. You know, you can use different environments. So when I say environment, when you open up Microsoft Word, what you see is an environment, and then you type. If you open up WordPad, it's still an environment, you type. They are both word processors. If you open up Notepad, it's an environment, you type. But you use them in different ways, but you are typing in each of them. They are word processors, they process word. So that's how Python operates. You have Python, but different environments help you to operate that Python. And one of the easiest ones to operate Python is the Jupyter Notebook. So start from basic Jupyter Notebook. So if you type Jupyter Notebook Python beginner's tutorial and you start looking for videos, you know, you have to first know how to download it. You have to download Python, you have to download Jupyter Notebook, and then look at some videos. Like I showed you, you know, in the slide, I've showed you Coursera, I've showed you edX. You might find courses on, you know, Python there, Python for beginners. Most Python for beginners will actually use Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab. The problem with Jupyter Lab is it also needs internet, but it works like Jupyter Notebook. You know, so that's the starting point. Learn a bit of Python, right, using Jupyter Notebook or any other IDE. You know, if you were to understand a bit of it and you were using another IDE, fine. But if you've not used anything, start with Jupyter Notebook, learn a bit of Python. Once you understand Python, can you multiply 2 times 2 on Python and get a result? You know, basic stuff. Once you begin to understand that, then you can then go for an artificial intelligence course using Python. So that by the time that person is saying, run this, run that, you can run it. If you cannot do that, and then you go for the artificial intelligence course, a few things that the person will be saying you should do on Python, you won't be able to do them. So the first thing is learn how to use Python as a beginner. Basically, the way these things work, you install software on them. So you're running Python. For you to deal with numbers, you install NumPy. For you to deal with artificial intelligence, you have to install scikit-learner. That's how all these things work. So you have to install what you want to use to do what you want to do. So if you learn the beginner part, it will show you all of these basic things. It will show you, once you are able to do basic stuff on Python, then go for an artificial intelligence course. Okay, so a very important point, try to look for machine learning course. That is more specific rather than artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is wider. Use the set of words machine learning. That's where to start. So once you do your Python, then go for a machine learning course, a free one, and that's it. You don't have to have the course in Nigeria. The courses that you see on artificial intelligence, most of them only just started a few years ago. You know, and between me and you, some of them will not equip you experimentally like the online courses will do. So I hope that answers the question.
So that actually answered the question. We really appreciate that.
No problem. Alhamdulillah.
Prof, please, we have one of our brothers, Brother Abrahman Amo. Bra Hamad, sorry. Are you there? Bra Hamad Olanriwaju.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, sir. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Please, you can just make a contribution before we allow Prof to go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother Ahmed, mashallah. Mashallah.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks. You really did justice to this topic, and I'm glad that
I've seen your face in a few places. I've wanted to contact you. I'm so glad to see you here.
I'm glad. I really appreciate MSS and Lagos for coming up with this particular study. I mean, it makes sense a lot. It really makes sense a lot. And I want to assure the participants, I'll be coming over to the camp tomorrow, and I will still talk more on what he has also spoken about and reach out to you guys about opportunity in Nigeria. We are doing a lot in Nigeria to raise as many as possible talents in this AI space. This is the only space that nobody cares about your religion, your personality, your tribe. As long as you have the stuff, just like I told you, they will pick you up. It's merit. Nobody wants to pick up anybody for picking up. It's purely merit. So once again, I want to appreciate Prof. Hafiz Alaka for doing justice to this. I mean, despite your tight schedule, you're able to, I mean, I can imagine how busy I understand perfectly well. If I also have to drag this beyond 9:30 p.m., it's a big sacrifice. I mean, so in Lagos State, you guys are just setting the pace. I mean,
please send your number through, Brother Yusuf, inshallah.
No problem, inshallah, I'll do that. No problem. So thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Jazakumullah khairan. So I guess in the absence of other contributions, we want to say Jazakumullah khairan to Professor.
I have some comments if it can be accepted.
Sir?
I said I have some comments, so if just a few minutes.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, welcome to Akatu. We appreciate our Prof for the wonderful presentation. At least I happen to be one of the trainers too, because I was in the camp too for a day. So my background is on database as well as data engineering. So at least I can see that Prof has really delved so deeply into the area of the AI, right? And I'm personally very happy, and I give kudos to the Amir for organizing this kind of program. We need our Muslim brothers to be conscious of the opportunities that are happening in the world. The world is a global village, right? There are so many opportunities out there which Prof has actually spoken about. But you can stay at home and you can get a remote job. You can be in Nigeria and be working for a company in US, as the case may be. So in the area of big data, artificial intelligence, data science, there are so many opportunities, and that is the direction that the world is going. So it's good that we have Prof who has been able to chip in so much. So we appreciate you. Jazakallah khairan.
Before we go, Brother Yusuf, I've not been able to respond to this person.
Okay.
If you help me contact the person, then I can connect with the person. I think the person has met me in Dolphin Estate. Says, Brother Abdul Shakur Adeleke Oshwala.
Okay, Abdul Shakur Adeleke Oshwala. Okay, I'll get in touch.
Yeah, so I'm not able to type back because I'm obviously concentrating here. And I think Dr. T. Mujisola as well. Those two people have tried to, one has messaged me, I've read the message, but I can't reply because I'm quite engaged at the moment. So both of them, Brother Abishaku Adeleke Oshwala and Dr. T. Mujisola, yeah, I'm quite happy to engage with them outside of the full necessary, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan to everyone. I appreciate again, we thank Allah Almighty Allah, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Please, we have our last minute question, sir. I don't know if you're ready, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please go ahead. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, okay, my question is, in the course of your lecture, you made mention of convolutional neural network, CNN, and I want to ask, well, does it have any deep convolutional? Is it different from the CNN under AI and that of deep learning? I want to know if there is similarities. What are the similarities? If there are differences, what are the differences?
Okay, so first and foremost, apologies, I don't think I mentioned it. I think you're referring to convolutional neural network, which is CNN, and it is deep learning. When we talk about deep learning is only artificial neural network. That's part of what I wanted to bring up, but I just thought it might be too technical. So you have the machine learning generally, which you have different algorithms, including artificial neural network, support vector machine, BART machine, random forest, and all the likes. But there's also deep learning, right? And that focuses on artificial neural network. And it is things like deep learning that are used for image classification. I don't know any other CNN. So when you talk about differences, you're not clear about which one and which one. But convolutional neural network is a type of artificial neural network, which is used for deep learning, and it is deep learning that is used for image classification. If that helps. If not, can you clarify your question? Is the brother there?
No, the question now, please, can you go ahead? There's a poster to you
Yes,
for
sir.
you there. Yeah.
The question is well understood. The answer is well understood, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Awesome. So, Prof, once again, I want to say Jazakumullah khairan for your time. We're glad we have you on board, and you've really done so well to gladden our hearts this evening. We've taken a lot from this session. And like the Amir has rightly said, we are hoping that subsequent sessions where we might be having a need for a subject matter expert, you would be very much willing to help us out in that regard. I know you have a very tight schedule, given the kind of role you are currently occupying. May Allah make it easy for you. May Allah continue to lift you up and continue to make everything easy for you. We are hoping that when next we call, you will be there to surely attend to our request. May Allah make it easy. Jazakumullah khairan once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan. So I'll keep